Welcome, Luke. Thank you. Excited to be here.
Good to have you.
Hi.
It is definitely.
Do you have an extra map?
Extra? Maybe Ursula does. Want me to ask her?
Who?
Ursula?
Ursula, maybe, yeah. Ursula.
Not to take away all the information tonight. I'm just saying.
She does. Is that
It
making
should be though.
Here it goes.
It's down here in 8. It's an 8.3.
All information about presentations. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I call to order the Oswego Community Unit School District Board of Education for September 11th, 2023. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Cerrone?
Here.
Mr. Gatewood?
Present.
Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Dr. Murillo?
Present.
Mr. Folger?
Present.
Ms. Simonton?
Present.
Ms. Benton?
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 4.1, public comment. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank the public for attending tonight's meeting. We value feedback we receive from our members of the public and encourage everyone to take an active interest in their public school system. Members of the public interested in speaking to the Board of Education this evening are asked to have completed a comment card and presented it to the secretary to the board. When the secretary calls your name, I ask that you come to the microphone, state your name for the public record, and provide your feedback. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per person and that no discussion of personnel matters, stating staff names, or responses to your questions are permitted. The board does not participate in discussion during public comment. Follow-up to your questions or concerns will be addressed by administration through the contact information provided on the comment card. Thank you.
Lisa Albano?
Hi, can you hear me?
Welcome.
Hello.
Okay, Lisa Albano.
Hi, Lisa.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Your 3 minutes is time.
So I have nothing fully prepared. I just need to give a little background and just kind of want to explain my frustrations to make you aware, because you all received an email from me on the 31st. I know you didn't respond, but just to give you a little background. I've been in the district. My oldest is a junior here, and I have freshman twins that are also here. We have always been in this school district, so we don't know any different. I have also been heavily involved in the PTO at Grand Park Elementary, at Murphy, and then I also was part of the Superintendent's Advisory Council for many, many years when my kids were 2nd and 3rd grade, up until just when Dr. Sparlin left. I'm just really frustrated, and I'm also an educator. I've been 25 years as a teacher myself, so I kind of understand how things work and how things go. I'm just really frustrated with transportation. On August 4th, all documentation needed to be submitted to the district to provide them with information if you needed an extra stop. I emailed multiple times, and as of August 30th, which was the last email I sent, I still have no response, and my transportation is still not fixed. So we are now 17 days into school, the 5th week of school, and nothing's been done. And I'm also really frustrated with Power School. I get that we needed to change it. I get that Tyler was gone. I also heard rumors, whether they're true or not, that there have been talks of this since December. And the way it was rolled out was a little bit frustrating for parents. My 2 children who are freshmen still can't get into Power School. I have talked to the help desk multiple times, at which time they tell me they are not able to help me because there is one person in charge of Power School, and she has over 3,000 requests, and they hope that she can get to me sooner than later. To me, that's not acceptable. It's not best for kids. I can understand in elementary if they don't have access to Power School on a regular basis, probably not the end of the world. But for middle school and high school kids who check their grades, check assignments, if they're absent, it's not acceptable. My son sat in the wrong class for 4 days because the room number changed and he had no access to know that. And so I spoke to the woman from Power School, finally reached out to me on September 1st. She told me at that time she was going to talk to the director of technology to figure out what was going on, and I still haven't had a response. And it's just not right. It's not best for kids, and it's unacceptable. And so I'm very frustrated. On the flip side, oh my gosh, I reunited with a friend that I used to work with in Hinsdale. I'm at 181, and the special ed department here at OE for my son has been absolutely amazing. I said today I got an email from a teacher, I know I'm not supposed to say names, but she was amazing because she took it to that next level, and she just, you could just tell how much she cared, and all the teachers here at OE have been wonderful with communication and just letting us know what's going on, and so it's greatly appreciated. So I am not usually one to, be mad. I usually try to, focus on the positives and look for success, and I do that with my own students. Like I call home with good stories as opposed to what they did wrong, because that's the important stuff. Let's celebrate it. But I couldn't not say something because I was just so frustrated, because this isn't affecting me, it's affecting my kids. And so that's where, and I know that there's other families in the same boat. So I just had to say that, and I probably talked over my time. And oh, look, that's actually pretty good. I'm usually a talker, so I'm sorry.
You're sorry?
Sorry. So yeah, so that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted you guys to understand. Hopefully we can move this along. I don't know, there's nowhere for the kids to go in the school to bring their computer and troubleshoot, and it's frustrating because these kids don't, I can only help, I could get into Power School, my oldest daughter could get into Power School, my other two can't. And so it's a problem. So hopefully we can get it fixed, and hopefully transportation can get on track, and we'll be good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next we are we're going to welcome a presentation this evening. We have Dr. Petsky and the team, Brent Kiger and Kevin McDonald, who are going to be presenting on technology this evening. Welcome, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Kevin McDonald. I'm the Director of Information Systems and Support, and alongside me is Brent Kiger, the Director of Technology and Infrastructure. We will be giving you our yearly technology update tonight, along with some of the goals for this year. Even though we did not have any goals this past year in Envision 308, that doesn't mean we weren't busy. Rather than sharing, and I'll just jump into the first. Can we scroll down a little bit? Ty, scroll down. There we go. All right, the first one. Rather than sharing carts in the elementaries, we were able to supply each section in 1st through 4th with a cart full of Chromebooks for each student to use while in the classroom. We also were, in order to support a refresh schedule for all our Chromebooks in the district, we worked with the finance department to increase our yearly budget. This will help ensure our 5th and 9th graders have a device that will last them for the 4 years that they will be assigned. In collaboration with the high school administration, we came up with a way to create a course that ran out of the tech hubs. This course will help give students who are interested in technology the opportunity to get some career readiness skills to use post-high school. They also learn customer service skills while dealing with students and staff that walk into the tech hubs. So far, the students are loving the course and are learning a lot. We ran a pilot for a classroom management solution using Securely Classroom. This pilot ran out of both high schools and included about 25 teachers. By the end of the pilot, we ended up with about 50 teachers due to all the requests that we received from others that were in the pilot. We ran it for about 3 months, and once again, we received very good feedback from everyone that was involved. All of the projectors in the district have now been replaced. This was completed using federal and state funds, or using multiple federal and state grants. This was necessary since we were using 15-year-old projectors in the classrooms in learning areas that didn't have good video and audio quality. The new projectors help provide a clearer picture for the students to see from anywhere in the room. We were able to purchase new Chromebooks for the 5th and 9th grade students using ESSER funding. This helped give us a jump start on our Chromebook refresh schedule we want to put in place, and allows us to provide our students with new touchscreen and higher performing devices. In collaboration with Student Services and Operations, we were able to implement new door intercoms at each school's main entryway. Doing this helps protect and lock down our schools even further by keeping the patrons outside the building entirely until someone in the front office lets them in. Lastly, we were able to replace 52 of our highly utilized copiers with new devices to help prevent breakdowns and repair calls, leading to a better end user experience.
And now to highlight where some of those projects apply to the various core areas in the Envision 308. Of course, with finance, we worked with the finance department heavily to ensure that our budget would now allow for the future refresh of the Chromebooks for 5th through 12th grade. But in addition to that, our plan for the 1st through 4th grades will also be supported in a refresh rate. Student learning, as mentioned before, we were able to create this tech hub that the students, I will say that we did receive a quote earlier this week or last week that they say it's their favorite class of the day, which is great. A lot of energy surrounding that class, very exciting to be involved with that. The support for student learning, we were able to ensure that all students were able to have a Chromebook in their hands to continue their learning in classrooms. As a side note, there is an extra slide in the board docs presentation where it does go through some of the incidents that we were able to work through. Some very interesting numbers there. And then again, want to hit upon the technology hub. It was kind of a double hitter. Not only are we providing the environment where they can learn and expand their skills, but it also gives other students, other staff in the high schools quick access to solve their technology issues. And as mentioned, the Securely Classroom. We are hoping that it will provide a environment that the students can, or the teachers can use to keep their students engaged with what is being taught in the classroom. And as mentioned, we didn't have a task for the Envision 308 for this year, but now we do. This January, we are planning to form a committee, an instructional technology committee, that will consist of various staff members throughout the district, that will be a place that people can come and brainstorm, investigate, and start to define the vision of what instruction looks like with the integration of technology. And our final goal in year 2026 is that we will have that shared vision across the district and in the community. So that was one task, but again, just like before, we have other plans for this year. We plan to initiate the creation of the technology plan. The committee will be somewhat a chapter in that technology plan. Looking forward to getting that out there. Continuing the development of the tech hubs and those courses and those students' involvement in those courses. We also plan to finalize our district cybersecurity plan, and we are planning to evaluate a new door access control solution for the district. And there's a nice little picture there at the end with the students involved in the tech hub. Questions?
Yes.
One,
Oh, no, go ahead.
Just one thing I want to celebrate is both the work you've accomplished, but also the work to come around a tech plan. I think it's important to really think about how we are looking both in terms of an audit of our current systems, both the infrastructure and the infrastructure, but as well as on the instructional side and within our security. So really understanding the breadth and depth of what is missing and what is needed. I think also the issue of personnel. Are we staffed appropriately are some of the things that you brought to my attention as you think about the need for a tech plan, because that also determines the kinds of investments we need to be planning for as we look ahead. So before we open up to questions, I want to know, Dr. Pesky, if there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, it's funny. I was going to ask Ty and Peter back there to zoom in on that picture because it was hard to see. I looked at just some blotches of color. But to go through those tech hubs at the high school and, you know, watch the kids come in, kind of get their plan for the day and some of the course material they're going for and some of the mentors that they're working with. It's just, it's really nice to have in our high schools. And I think Brent and Kevin would agree. That's kind of some tech experiences that we'd like to see trickle down into middle school and even the 4th and 5th grades with some of the things that they're doing. So I don't know if any of our student ambassadors have had a chance to get into the tech hubs at all or seen what those have been like.
I've only been in there because I've had a problem with my Chromebook, but it was
works.
very helpful, and I do think that it's a good thing for our students to, whether they're learning more or whether they just need some help. So I do think it's really good.
So my question is, for the tech hubs, is it just for the physical working of your Chromebook, or like we heard earlier about Power School, or what is it? Yeah, Power School, and how students are having trouble getting in. Is that an opportunity for students to come to come to the hub to see if they can get access to Power School that way?
It is not the original intent for them to do that. That being said, we do have other members in that tech hub. Usually our on-site technician is there and our integration coach, or the building's integration coach. We have a shared tech channel that, not necessarily with the students, but with those individuals, where they can reach out and reach other members of the tech department to try and find out a solution for them.
So, and I would imagine at this point, students don't know that that's available to them. Probably not, right?
Yeah, probably not. A lot of it would depend on the building's advertisement.
So if we have this backlog of individuals who can't get into Power School, then maybe we should consider it. I'm just saying.
There may be an issue of student privacy of data as well with Power School.
I don't know,
Some of this, so I think that's something that I would want, working with the student, that would be a crossover. This part of it will be a student registration issue, and so I'd want us to look into
Yeah,
that.
okay, look into it, because if there's only one person who's handling Power School and we've got this log jam, then we got to figure out some other ways to get that, if that's happening.
Yeah, I would say let's investigate if we're
Okay.
thinking about some of the earlier comments this evening. I think we need to look into the details of that, because there are lots of factors before I could say that that is the case. Maybe Dr. Kincaid, but I would say that that is an important point. We want to definitely be looking into it.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Jen?
Is Securely a learning management system?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's more of an access control, monitoring, management of the device environment.
Okay.
It isn't like a learning management system
Okay.
like Google Classroom or something like that.
And is this being piloted because of why, I guess? Like when I read this presentation, some of these things I was trying to okay, what's the why behind this? How does this align to our goals? What is the purpose of us piloting this?
The main focus was to give the teachers the ability to not only be efficient in the classroom, but also keep the students engaged and task-oriented. With this particular software, they can view what's on the Chromebooks, so you don't
Right.
get the students straying from
Yeah,
the
and I
task.
totally understand that, but I guess my question is, did this come about because teachers said, this is an issue? I guess I'm trying to get to the root cause, the why we're doing that. I know it's something that every school district does and so forth. I'm just trying to get to the root cause, and when we look at our priorities of what we need to do in the tech world, why was this something that we're doing now and so forth? So that was my question, and something I would like to see directly in the presentation, because we can read the whole presentation, but I guess it's the why and the root cause of why we're running a pilot and why we're doing a pilot, and then how it's aligned to our goals. And then is that looking at Securely as the pilot, have we looked at any other solutions, and why did we focus on Securely?
One of the main features of Securely is that we work with them for our filtering and aware applications, which also does some monitoring. And if we felt that if Securely had the ability to do what we needed it to do, it was a great fit with the integration, not some other system to support in the environment. It already has the ability to open up and block websites that the teacher may deem needed. So it was really a good fit with what we currently have in the environment.
And how is, let's say the next stage is to adopt this or purchase this or whatever, how is that being rolled out to our educators? How are they going to be trained on it? How are they going to use it, and so forth?
Yeah, we do have materials from Securely, training videos, documentation. We've worked with the integration coaches over the last year to develop some of that, and along with our department. But honestly, as Kevin mentioned, those other staff members that wanted to become part of the pilot, they were not part of the initial training, and they just picked it up. So it's a very friendly application. Not to say that we won't provide these materials, but I feel comfortable that the teachers will be able to use the application very easily.
With all due respect, many people think that about Power School too, and I've spoken to a lot of very frustrated educators that don't have access to Power School and don't know how to use it. So providing materials and having that connection happen are one thing. What I ask is that it's been done very intentionally, and maybe not like at the beginning of school or at another time, very critical for our educators to be focused on something else, but in a very intentional rollout. So thank you.
And if I could just weigh in for a second. So I do appreciate the question too, Jennifer, because it's one of those things, how many tech initiatives are we going to have and roll out? And this is kind of an evolution of where we've been and where we're going. So where we've been is we've had tech labs and we've had technology in the schools, but not necessarily a one-to-one program. So we had, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Net Support School that we had in the labs where teachers had a window into the world of what the students were doing rather than looking over everybody's shoulder. And when we ended up going to one-to-one with the Chromebooks, then we knew that was a concern. All teachers now,
Yes.
we're going to be concerned about what are the kids doing. One of the strategies I saw while I was monitoring the pilot was a very easy one. The teacher put their screen that had all of the kids' little thumbnails and put it up on the projector and then walked around and helped the kids on the different projects, and the kids kind of could see what the other students in the class were doing. And not only does it give what they're doing in real time and help the teachers monitor, but it's got a few other features, including like limiting what sites the kids can go to, or only putting sites that are available for the kids to peruse. And the one is also the history. So a teacher doesn't have to put in a ticket to say, Brent and Kevin, what was this student doing at this time of day? They can log into Securely and pull up exactly the time and the sites that those kids were on. So if people are trying to hide what they're doing, there's a little accountability there. And I think the reason it came up now was because we've got teachers in the district who experience it in their labs, But when we went one-to-one with COVID, now we're taking the time and attention, now that we've actually developed a refresh and gotten these resources out there, this is one of those technologies that actually impacts the classroom. So to be able to give the teachers a window to the world rather than just feeling like, hey, all of your kids have Chromebooks, good luck. So this gives a tool to help manage and give us some insight. But your points are duly noted. You know, professional development is key, making sure people are comfortable with it, and just kind of building some experience with that. Some different best practices. What can you do with this tech?
And I appreciate what you said at the beginning. That was what I was looking for, was kind of the trajectory of connecting the dots. And I have to be very honest, I did this 5 years ago in another district, so
Yeah.
a little bit because of resources, because of a lot of reasons behind the times. But it definitely is something that we have needed for a long time. And when you go one-to-one, you have to have, let's be very honest with you. So, you know, let's be very honest. So I guess what is connecting the dots on a presentation instead of just a bullet point that we're piloting this. Okay, why? What's the reasoning? What's the projection? Or what's the connect the dots of why we're doing this? And what you said is that, you know, what we did historically and why we're doing that now. So that's all I would really appreciate.
Good, thank you.
It's just a point of clarification. I was looking under the finance, excuse me, the tab for finance, and I'm remembering another report that I read. But my plain question is for our one-to-one devices, are they leased or are they purchased?
We originally leased when COVID hit. That contract is up. We just made, honestly, our last finance payment or lease payment for that. From that point on, we are now purchasing the devices.
Got it. So the ones that we leased originally, are we purchasing those, or are we replacing those with purchased devices?
Ultimately, replacing those with purchased devices.
Got it.
And we also had a grant for that, right?
For the purchase, or the lease or the
lease.
purchase?
For the lease.
It's like a 700 or 800.
For this year.
Yeah.
For this year only. Okay.
And Eugene, just for clarification there, the leases, the thing about Chromebooks, their end of life is only 3 to 4 years. And so when you lease them for 5 years, they're pretty much at the end of life anyway. So I'm not exactly sure, but what I know about the contracts, probably we had a $1 buyout. We don't have to return those machines. And when the lease is up, we just need to get rid of them. They're not really good to us. They're not good to the kids. They're end of life, right?
Correct.
So we're not really replacing them, but what we are is we're replacing the ones that are end of life now using district dollars, but we're only replacing them in grades 5 and grades 9, where one of the reasons we needed to do the lease was we needed to get Chromebooks for everybody. And then we're cycling through them and just doing, like, now kids will get them in 5th grade and keep it to 8th grade. Then in 9th grade, they get a new Chromebook and they keep it from 9th grade to 12th grade. So every student only gets 2 Chromebooks, but over that 8-year period. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
It makes sense. I'll just ask another question later about, you know.
I'm sure you have this, but I would say looking forward in terms of our tech rollout, both for our Power School system and any other initiative we have, doing some kind of a survey check, I think, is an important part of this. Checking in with our staff, how the professional learning is happening, what are the kinds of things what kind of feedback we're getting, so figuring out a quarterly system. We want to avoid over-surveying people. I know that everybody feels very strongly about that, but I think for both of our students and our staff and listening, I think that's an opportunity for us to, I'm sure you have something in there, but maybe elevate for future reflection.
Quick pulse surveys, I
Yep.
think go a long
3, 2,
way
1.
in building that. Also that like trust and culture of letting everybody know what's going on and so forth. So that's I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
You done? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Okay, 6.1. Dr. Kelgati will give his superintendent report.
Good evening, board. I want to first welcome to our group our student ambassadors. We will have a chance to hear from you in a few minutes, but Isabel and Luke, welcome to the team. I know the board's been very excited to have you join this evening, and frankly, it's one of the first things I noticed when I was getting to know 308 was the presence of student ambassadors on the board and the value and the importance of that for this community, to know that the voices of our students are centered and are prominent in this work. You're not an afterthought, you're at the table, literally, and we're glad to have you here this evening. This evening, I wanted to begin by reading part of the comments that I wrote in my weekly update to our community, that SD308 stands with our community as we remember and honor the memory of the countless lives lost and those forever changed following the 9/11 tragedy. I have personal friends in that tragedy who lost their lives. Many heroes put their lives in harm's way to save the lives of others. During this time, people from many backgrounds came together to care for each other and to help find a way forward. We honor these heroes for their courage and sacrifices and vow never to forget those who are gone. SD308 also wishes to acknowledge and denounce the judgment that impacts our Muslim communities because of the radical violence undertaken on 9/11. We stand with our Muslim community in solidarity, recognizing that the acts of those individuals do not represent an entire community. We remind our families, staff, and students that in every religion, community, and culture, there are individuals who intentionally undermine the purposes, the faith, and the values, and should not be considered representatives for their broader community. So I wanted to just
Well said.
initiate that and just bring light to that.
Well said.
Switching gears, there's no easy segue from that, but I want to just say that over the last few weeks, I've had the great honor of celebrating with our athletic teams. From golf to football, there are some great wins and some tough losses already. I want to thank our staff and coaches and our athletic directors for their investment. These are all important life lessons for our students, and it's great to be in a community that recognizes and committed to increasingly investing in those efforts. I also had the opportunity to learn from our Bionic team. If you don't know what Bionic is, you may be thinking it's a robot dance, but it's really, believe it or not, I care. And it's such an important framework and umbrella for really elevating student voice in our community. And I had a chance to sit with their board. They're actually interested. Mary Jo actually joined me that day, and they're hopeful to come and present to the board some of their efforts. So stay tuned for that. This past few weeks, our students have now actually started to wrap up the fall FastBridge assessment. This is a tool where we get to know and do our due diligence. Our teachers do their due diligence and really understanding where our students are as we start the school year. Across the whole system, our school leaders and district improvement team are going to be drawing upon this data and information to help lead and guide future instruction and also to monitor progress. After all, as you know, in sports, you don't know how far to, without a scoreboard, you don't know where to go. And similarly, in academics, we need to know what the scoreboard says in order to plan and effectively think about the decisions that we are making in supporting our students. Last week, we had our Continuous Improvement Institute Day. We want to thank our staff who participated in that. And tomorrow, our school leaders will be engaging in their own professional learning around continuous improvement. Part of that will include a workshop led by Dr. Waller around diversity and equity, as that is important and is at the core of our values that we are pursuing in this district. We are pleased, I am pleased, thrilled to share that our district has been awarded a teacher vacancy grant pilot program for $400,000. I want to thank Dr. Kincaid and Dr. Zwemke for their leadership and this work development for this. And this will jumpstart our efforts to invest in our educators, both present and in the future. Last but not least, two more things actually I wanted to highlight. Number one, we recognize, and I want to thank Mr. Obafemi for coming right in and starting to address some of the major challenges we've gotten to see around our tracks. We recognize that this has been a long, protracted process. I want to thank Dr. Petsky for collaborating with Mr. Obafemi and really figuring out what are some solutions. I understand that on the 25th at our board meeting, we'll have a more robust presentation about the status of this. along with our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Bill Queen. We'll have a chance to hear a little bit about the status and also what are some updates and what are some potential short-term solutions if we're not able to get to a viable solution for one of our tracks. I am launching, so over the since I've landed, I've had the great fortune of getting to know this community. And it is, as you have said to me, a community full of heart. When I first met the board and members of the hiring committee, it was very clear that that was a huge priority, that we recognize the heart and the passion that exists in this community for the work of serving our children. Engaging in the meet and greets, and even this past Saturday, I had the fortune of attending the BPAC picnic here at Wills Crossings picnic area, and really just such a tremendous interest and thinking about the excellence of our education programs and access to learning for our students. I was really appreciative of the welcome, and I felt that welcome throughout every meet and greet. And as I've listened, what emerged for me is that there are many priorities. There are many ways to start to think about this, the challenges, but also the opportunities. And so for that reason, as you heard in my latest update, I'm launching a superintendent's advisory group. The purpose of this group will be to bring representatives from every single school to engage in some really discourse and discussion to really highlight what are the things that are really percolating to the top, and have we understood what the community is saying. I have heard, the board has surveyed, the board engaged in a superintendent's search survey this past spring. There have been multiple surveys over the last 2 years. The question becomes, what do we understand and what are we gleaning from these reports? We don't want to just receive data and then jump right into solutions. And so the purpose of this, and one of our board members earlier mentioned root cause analysis, is to bring constituents from a variety of communities to engage in root cause analysis. Start to think, are we affirming, does it make sense, and how far do we want to go? What's the first priority? What's the last priority? How do we take what really are limited funds and then use those funds wisely in the execution of our efforts? We don't want to be in a position where we run too quickly to serve one urgent need and then ignore what may be a greater need down the road. We know the impact of such mistakes when we move too quickly to serve one loud spoken need versus those silent voices who may also have needs that we need to be able to assess. And so for that reason, the Superintendent's Advisory Group is not a voting body, but really a consultative experience that I will use then as part of the information that I gather and bring back to this board. I want to thank everybody for their support, and I also want to thank the board for its continued support of this effort. And with that, those are my comments.
Thank you. All right, 6.2, board committee reports.
Can I ask a question before we move on?
Yep.
How are you determining who will be on the, I don't know how many people you're expecting or what have you, but will be on that committee? When will the first meeting be? And is there any transition or carryover from either Dr. Sparlin's or our Community Advisory Committee?
It's great questions. Thank you for raising those topics. Okay. So the first question is, we're going to be working with our school leaders to determine who is invited to participate. That's number one. Number two, we know that there are those who have offered their service and may not be selected. There are two ways that I'm going to invite. Well, there's lots of ways people can get involved, but I'm going to highlight three. The first is that if you are selected, welcome. Number two, if you are not selected, after every session the following week, I will host call it a midday reflection meeting, where we will follow up with a presentation about what came up in that session. There are no secrets here. It's not an exclusive closed group. This is an open session, right? So we'll bring that data and I'll share what were the lessons learned. And so anybody who's not selected will be welcomed and invited to participate. Everybody will be welcome, but it'll be a Google Meet, a virtual space, gives people flexibility to join and to hear them. The third thing is that we have board committees. We have board finance committee, we have a board equity teaching and learning committee, we have a board policy and legislation committee. I want to invite any and everybody to participate. So if you've offered your support, please, if you think about where your interests, which is part of the survey that we put out there, we want to know what your interests are. We'll invite you to come to those sessions so you can hear and participate, and in those meetings, there will be a point for public comment where you can speak to your passions and your interests and give reflection. And then the second part of your question, which was the community council work that had existed. In reviewing that, what I heard pretty clearly from a number of individuals was that there was an opportunity for that group becoming much more involved in a consultative process that had some influence, right? And so what I opted in speaking with our board presidents and reflecting on the work from the years past was to invite those individuals to be essentially automatically on the superintendent advisory group. So there will be additional individuals who will be participating in the experience. And so that they'll have an opportunity to give voice in that space. And then schools that they're coming from will either have an opportunity to say, yeah, that's fine, or there'll be a second person from those particular schools. I've been asked also about students, and we have a advisory group for students as well. I felt that in this instance, I wanted to protect the voices of our students. When you have a large group of 100+ adults, to have a small group of students can be a little intimidating. Yeah. And so I felt like to have a genuine voice of students, that sufficed. The last thing, and I will say, is that the superintendent's advisory group allows me to do is to bring principals, educators, and community members, parents, into the same space. Yeah. So often those groups are kept separate, and then there's some kind of carrying of the message. The goal is to create opportunities where we can engage in community building together.
Love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So, board committee reports. These are the first meetings of the year. We had our equity and teaching and learning committee, which we combined, and we also had our policy and legislative. So for our community, within the board docs, you have an opportunity to find a summary of the committees and what they worked on that particular session. They talk about what was discussed and what were their takeaways and their action items. And so for their first meeting, these are the kinds of things that they addressed regarding, like creating a mission statement for their committee, defining the roles and responsibilities, reviewing the process for determining agenda topics and the likes. Is there anything that anyone would like to add to that?
I'll add one thing. For the equity teaching and learning meeting, we had a very exciting and robust discussion. It was very collaborative. However, I want to make sure that going forward that those conversations are very comprehensive. So our next meeting is October 4th at the district office at 5 o'clock. And so just to echo Dr. Kilgatti, I invite, all community members to please be in attendance because it gives an opportunity for input.
Thank you. Are we all good?
I'll just add one thing that, I think being on both of those committees, the one thing that I was encouraged but kind of knew going in is as we combined committees, it was definitely interesting to see how we navigated that both of those pieces in those committees. I think for teaching and learning and equity, it's a natural fit. I don't think that was so much the navigation piece as it was trying to figure out what we wanted to what was the actionable things that we wanted to do. I think that's kind of where meeting them together was really where the heart of the discussion was. As far as policy and legislative committee, that was, I think, a little bit more strenuous, I'll go that way, as far as trying to mold the legislative and the policy piece. But one thing that I wanted to bring up that came out of there was that how these go hand in hand. The policy, I've heard this, and listen, I don't mean to say anything. I've heard the comment come up with, well, heavy lift when it comes to the policy committee. And the reason you have a heavy lift, and the reason you will have a heavy lift in the future, or you won't, is because those policies tend to revolve around legislation, right? And what comes out of the state and legislation. So if you have heavy legislation, you can probably bet you're going to have heavy load on the policy end. And so where I think these two come together is we have an opportunity to flex some muscle, if you will, based off of our location. And, you know, one of the things that I keep talking about is how is it that we can help those of us who are, or all of our citizens that are in 308 connect with all of these taxing bodies, right? And, you know, I know we had the topic come up of transportation, and, you know, I'm a teacher also, and I work in Bolingbrook, and I've quizzed the people who are driving from here, and the word nightmare has come up, and there's like a 5-minute window, and if you don't get in that 5-minute window, good luck to you. Some of these are the conversations that I've had talking to them, and I'll remind everybody that if that's really the case, if it's really a nightmare out there getting around, that our buses are out there in that as well. And so I think there's an opportunity that's been missed in the previous years where it's, yes, we might have a heavy lift on the policy end, but let's take a proactive approach when it comes to the legislative end so that we're not surprised, right? So that it doesn't come down necessarily to always having to reactively educate because we are much more proactive in these conversations. So I was definitely encouraged from that piece, and I wanted to share that because I think that shows kind of the natural progression. So if we ignore the legislative aspect of this, then we can, you know, we get what we get, right? And so I'm encouraged that we will be more proactive.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to mention, sorry, if for anyone that does want to get involved, there is another committee meeting a week from today, Monday the 18th, which is the Building and Finance Committee. That's I think 6 o'clock at the district office. So if anyone's interested, come on down.
Finance and facilities.
Finance and
Yes.
facilities.
I just want to, Mary Jo, I look forward to serving on that committee with you. I just want to touch base with what Jared said and what Dr. Kilgatti said. I think we definitely, I think the community action or community advisory committee was a step in the right direction. Where I think that we fell a little short is looking for a recommendation from a broader group of the community and bringing that recommendation up to the board. And I look forward to using our communities to have that voice brought to the board table. And I love that we have combined some of these committees because last year we started making sure that if we were talking about a subject matter in a committee and it had some connection to another committee, we would step back and we would send that information to another committee for feedback. And I think that's something that we need to be very cognizant of before it gets to the board table, that we have had the appropriate administrators and board members have a chance with their committee to weigh in, so when it comes to the board, it feels more holistic. So I'm excited about bringing these committees together, and I appreciate all the work that's been done on this. Dr. Kilgatti, on your end, to really make these committees work for us. Versus just a committee that's there in name and it's like, yes, we're doing it, but actually making it work for the board. So I appreciate it.
I will say this: I encourage us as board members to kind of self-reflect on if either A, we are trying to put too much on the committees, or B, we need more meetings, right? Either one is viable, but what I don't want is one of these pieces to be lost because of the agenda of the other half, if you will. Eventually it won't look that way, like hopefully, and it'll be smoother, but I hope we will encourage us to do some self-reflection on that.
Well, I'm glad we got Dr. Kincaid and Ursula on last year before you said that, because we definitely put a huge burden and workload on them when we asked to update the policy manual. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and again, that's part of, I think, that legislative piece that goes hand in hand with this, which is if you are on the proactive end, you're more ready for that, and you know when the heavy lifting is going to happen. I mean, we've done heavy lifting on policy committees in the past too, so you know, when you see them busy in Springfield, you know we're going to get busy at the policy level.
For sure. Okay, thank you. 6.3, board member comments. Any comments from our board members?
Well, I can go over a few things that have been going on. So in the past 3 weeks, I just want to recognize some of the people that have been participating, some of the students, some of the staff, et cetera, that have been participating in some of the things that I've had the privilege of witnessing. Just real quick, the meet and greets continue. We did have one at the Park District. We had one at Hunt Club. We had some people turn out there. Those were very productive, and I would invite the public to the extent that there are any, that you continue to come by, and if you'd like to host one, you're welcome to do that as well. Also did some tours at Prairie Point and Trauber. At Trauber, I really want to recognize Crystal Rutherford. Crystal has put together the best resource center. It is welcoming, it's comfortable, the kids want to attend, the kids want to read. What a concept. The kids want to read and they want to participate, and she's put in a lot of hard work, so I'd like to thank her for that. Bionic, Dr. Calgatti's already mentioned. They do want to do a presentation. They're also looking to get their graduation cords added to the collection. They want to be recognized at graduation. I also went to the robotics open house on a Saturday. Like those people, those students just like blew me away. I mean, they're just incredible, the things that they're doing. They also want to do a presentation for us, for the board, and I think that's a great idea. But those are some really talented students we have out there. And then finally, as Dr. Calgatti mentioned, there was brunch with BPAC on Saturday. There were about as many bees as there were people, and there were a lot of bees.
Yeah, they're out there, aren't they?
So, but yeah, I mean, that was well received. They are looking for a couple more people to be on their committee. They're looking for a couple more English learner families. Their committee is not full. They have 3 positions open. So if anyone's interested, please let them know. And then finally, not necessarily school-related, but last Friday I was participating at the food pantry at Old Trauber. I just encourage any family that has a need. Again, the next one at Old Trauber is October 6th, but they do occur on a weekly basis. Please stop by. We really don't want to see any student, any family in our school district going hungry. That's it for me. That's enough.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to touch base really quickly that 22 years ago, as Dr. Calgatti said, we all experienced the devastation of 9/11. Over 2,600 Americans never went home to their loved ones that day. Among them was one of the first volleyball players I ever coached, Katie, who had an incredibly bright future. I will never forget her, and it certainly is a sobering reminder that tomorrow is not guaranteed. Transitioning to something also very serious, September is recognized as Suicide Prevention Month. Suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14, the 3rd leading cause of death among those aged 15 to 24, and the 12th leading cause of death overall in the United States, and unfortunately has intimately touched School District 308. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, please call or text 988 immediately. If you are uncomfortable talking on the phone, you can also chat with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988lifeline.org. You can also text NAMI to 741-741 to be connected to a free trained crisis counselor on the crisis text line. And remember, you matter. On a lighter note, welcome to our new CFO, Mr. Raphael Obafemi. I look forward to working with you on the Finance and Facilities Committee and finally bringing some transparency to SD308's finances. And I'm really looking forward to getting a true variance report up and running. And also so honored and look forward to working with our new student ambassadors who will help center student voice at our board table. And please, please do not hesitate to jump in when you have something to say. You do not need an invitation. Your seat at this table is just the same as ours. Thank you.
I'll be quick. I always love to brag about my other role, if you will, in our community, which is the one of the commissioners of the GAR, and it allows me. I was invited Wednesday night. So when this coming Wednesday, we are the commissioners from the various commissions for the city of Aurora have been invited to induct new members into the Aurora Education Commission. So I am looking forward to
It's going to be good.
yeah, the GAR commissioner pays off again. Number one, I'm always happy to serve that. In that capacity as well, but looking forward to them also
Likewise.
welcoming you in as well. So I'll try and get in the front row if I can. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
I just have a quick welcome to Isabel and Luke. Welcome to the team. Look forward to working with you all. And had the opportunity for one of the other meet and greets with the City of Aurora, Dr. Kilgotti, LaTanya, and some of the administrative staff. We went over to the City of Aurora and met with Mayor Richard Irving and his staff. And as Jared was stating, legislation, in order to be proactive in legislation, you have to start with relationships. And so I just appreciated the opportunity to start building the relationships because we have 5 different cities that feed into our school district, and that's just one of the many meet and greets that Dr. Kilgotti has been engaged in. So just looking forward to continue to do that.
I'll just add one other quick thing. President Simelton, myself, Dr. Kilgotti, Dr. Zwemke, this week had an opportunity to meet with a local university to think about different ways we can partner on several things. And so I just look forward to more robust conversations with them and with others in the community about partnering on a variety of initiatives.
Very good. So all of those things, I echo them, I ditto them. Welcome to Mr. Obafemi, and also to our student ambassadors, Isabel Gershon and Luke Lockwood. And now we have an opportunity to hear from our students. And so 6.4 is our student ambassador report.
Okay. Hi, my name is Isabel Gershon, and I'm a junior at Oswego East. I am just so honored to have been selected for this position. I'd first just like to thank the board for having faith in me and giving me such an amazing opportunity to represent my peers. I wanted to share a little bit about how I got involved and the reasons why I chose to pursue this position. I got involved with SD308 policy when Mrs. Simelton, now our board president, saw me speak at an event on the importance of diversity and racial equity in our community. From there, I was lucky enough to join a student diversity committee and later the SD308 coalition, where I was able to share my unique experience of being a Jewish and female student in our district. Being on that committee was such a transformative experience, especially being able to hear everyone's unique perspective and work together to create solutions to some challenges we face in SD308. But I worried that all our work and difficult conversations would not be taken seriously by leaders in our district. When I first heard about the creation of the Student Ambassador Program, I felt hopeful that we would be heard. And that is exactly what happened. Through amplifying student voices, our district has been able to highlight issues that truly matter to students, such as combating sexual harassment and mental health challenges. These are issues I hope to champion, as well as work to make our schools a more inclusive space for students of all identities and backgrounds, including members of the LGBTQ+ community and anyone holding a marginalized identity. I'm so grateful to the student ambassadors before me, Anya and Caitlin, for building such a great foundation for Luke and I to continue to build on. I am just so excited to be a voice for my fellow students and to get to work. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Luke Lockwood, and I am a senior at Oswego High School. I am truly humbled and honored to have the opportunity to serve and represent the great students of OHS and SD308. Throughout my time as student ambassador, I plan to highlight the importance of coming together as a student body, district, and community as a whole. It is imperative to ensure that every student is heard. I want to encourage students to be honest and use their voices, whether through surveys, emails, or speaking at the board meetings. I want the students to take pride and ownership in their schools, as I know this will make our schools and our district better as a result. I want to stress the importance of listening to each other, no matter the views. Each student has their own story and journey. It's important that we acknowledge and validate those experiences. If this starts among the students of our schools, we will set the foundation for future students and generations to come. Overall, if we come together and find common ground, building a community of listeners, there is nothing we can't do as students and as a community. All students deserve a place where they can learn and grow, and I am committed to ensure that every student receives that right. I would like to thank the board members and Dr. Calgatti for this amazing opportunity to serve and work for the students, school, and district that I love. Finally, I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Though our generation of students were not born to witness this tragic day, it is important for us as young people to never forget the heroes who risked their lives to save others and the innocent lives lost. We honor you today. Thank you.
All right. We're clapping it up for both of them. I mean, come on. We are in very good hands, right? We are in, yes, the future is bright. I love it. Thank you so much to you both. We are so excited to have you. We have no doubt that you will fill the shoes of Anna and Caitlin and everyone who's come before you, and you'll do great things. So we're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, 7.1, consent agenda.
Make motion to approve all items under consent, including 7.1 minutes from the Board of Education meeting on August 21st, 2023, open and closed session. 7.2 to acknowledge the FOIA requests received by the district, and 7.3 to approve a one-time only addendum to policy 7:100, health, eye, and dental examinations, changing the exclusion date from September 15th to October 15th, 2023.
Second.
Are there any questions on the consent agenda?
I just want to make sure that we're clarifying on the policy piece. I know that typically we don't like to bring things and vote on them at the same time, and with this one, there was definitely obviously today's the 11th, so we're talking about time here, and a lot of districts have done this where this isn't unique to our district. So I just wanted to make sure I was acknowledging that, and this is for the sake of transparency.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Aye.
Ms. Venman?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Financial statements.
Do you have anything
Okay,
on there?
any questions about that? All right. Next item.
Can I just ask
Okay.
one question? I'm going
Yep.
to defer most of my questions to our finance committee meeting, but, and I don't think you'll be able to answer this, maybe Faith or Heather can answer this. I just noticed that we had an overage for FastBridge for so much use. Why, it was like $11,000. What does that mean? Like, why are we going over on FastBridge?
So we had an additional grade level.
Can you borrow that microphone? Sorry.
We have started testing additional grade levels for FastBridge, where we had been doing second grade through 8th. We're now starting with our first graders as well. So there's a whole nother group of students.
Okay. So next year, we will just have, we'll buy a bigger, I guess I'm trying to figure out, we'll just buy a bigger package next year? Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? No? Okay. Agreement with Kendall County Food Pantry. Questions
Much
for us?
needed.
Okay. This is in terms of on the agenda, we had on here information on new high school courses. I did put in a request to delay this discussion item.
Yeah, I'd make a motion on 8.3 to postpone discussion on the new high school courses so that they can go through the teaching and learning and equity committee prior to coming to the full board.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. 9.1, action item, approval of bills for payment. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to authorize. Excuse me, I apologize. Make a motion to authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $6,561,765.47 as presented.
Second.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
I'm sorry, aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 9.2, approval of board member travel requests. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the board member travel request as presented.
Second.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Action item 9.3, approval of personnel report. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. I'm sorry, 10.1, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion